Hey, I'm Carl, your host for Beyond the Toolbox, and today I'm here with Thomas Hood from Shade Doctor. First, could you just introduce who Shade Doctor is and what y'all do?
All right, Carl. Hey, thanks for having me. Ultimately, we are a shading solutions company, and that industry has come a long way in recent years. But ultimately, we're all about exterior shading, even interior shading, but with motorized solutions. Our primary product is a motorized drop screen. Some industries call them powered curtains. I mean, they're carried a lot of different names and regions around the company, or around the country. But ultimately, it's an up-down mesh product that, at the touch of a button, you can cover a large window opening or a patio room opening and create a more protective space. But really, what's interesting about this is you wouldn't think so from just looking at it from the 30,000 square foot view, the surface. There's a ton of other benefits, right? Because if you can block out UV, and that has a relationship to as infrared and direct light as well, in order to do that, you have to have some sort of material that will also have a relationship to blocking other things out that you don't want in. So it's a multifaceted benefit in terms of product, what can it accomplish for the homeowner or the business owner alike.
And I do want to say I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm just really curious also about how you got into shading, just because I feel like this is very niche. You normally hear like roofing or HVAC or plumbing.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a career as a business owner or in leadership levels at different home improvement companies, and I personally transitioned out of the window industry into what I'm doing now. But years before that, I had spent a good part of my career in territory and regional leadership with the sunroom industry, and I absolutely loved it. Because ultimately, what we did is we served a customer that was interested in improving their home, and they weren't sitting around grumpy and mad all day because they had to spend money. Right? They were excited about it because it was something they wanted to buy, rather than something that they needed to buy or had to buy, or you had to convince them of some sort of manufactured ROI so that they thought it was beneficial to buy, right? So in this space, I mean, let's just think about it. If, you can look at water filtration and solar and windows and doors and all types of things in the home improvement industry. People spend money on that every day.
Right.
But very rarely does someone spend money on something like that they're excited to spend money on it. It's more like, man, the windows are bad, my seals are failed, I've got to spend $50,000 on windows. But what I saw in the patio room industry and the sunroom industry is you'd have John and Sally sitting at home for a 3 p.m. appointment. Well, they get home, they take a early off day at work, they're home at noon, just excited that the sunroom guy's coming, right? And so what I've been really, really impressed with this is we get to really serve the same customer. It is a product that, helps people improve their home, and the money they spend, they're more excited to do it because it's not attached to, a heating and cooling unit or something that breaks and then they have to spend money. So it's very, very exciting for us.
Way better customer too, it sounds like, because they don't have to get it.
Yeah, and typically we're dealing with a little bit more expendable income. These are more of a luxury type purchase, which unlocks whole other elements of customers in terms of expectations and demands and standards and those sort of things, which it can be challenging sometimes, but I believe we do a very, very good job of managing that.
I'm sure you guys do. I saw a lot of good reviews. How much does something like this normally cost? I know it's like a very vague thing, but like...
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's always... In fact, that's one of the things that we really struggle with the most. And I'll paint this picture, and it's probably more than you wanted, but I think if there's a consumer out there listening to this, it might make sense to them why we do what we do. right? So, Carl, let's say I said to you, you're in the market for a truck, right?
Right.
And I would say to you, Carl, I've got a truck. Do you want it? It's $10,000. What are you
Yeah,
going to say?
I need more information. What type of truck is this?
No. It's a truck. It's $10,000. You want it or not?
I see where you're coming from, for
Okay.
sure.
So, and I use that. I can't really use that to a customer, a consumer, right? Because it might not translate well. But I use that when I'm talking about price for a number of different reasons. Number one, we sell an exclusive, unique product that no one else offers in this space. It has features and benefits that you can only find with Shade Doctor, number one. Number two, we have about 7 different models of shades, okay, of vertical drop screens. So whether you just need privacy and to block the sun, we've got that product. If you need just a basic run-of-the-mill industry standard product, we've got that product. If you need a step up that can handle, moderate wind, 50 to 65 miles per hour, we've got that product. But then we also have much more extreme products for, really adverse circumstances. Our X-Ray Pro, for example, this is a product that we warranty at 105 mile per hour wind speed. Okay, you're not going to find that on anyone's most common, most prolifically sold product in this industry. So that's why I say giving a price is hard, because I can tell you in the motorized shading industry, if you're looking at it by openings, you can spend, let's say, $2,000 an opening, or you can spend $7,000 or $8,000, $9,000 an opening, depending on size, depending on how the home is framed, depending on which model you get, which colors you select, if there are build outs or carpentry work required to install. So that's why that's kind of a loaded question, because we do a ton of digital media where folks are reaching out to us all day long. Hey, I want a ballpark price. I want a ballpark price. Well, I can give you one, but it's either going to hurt you or it's going to hurt us. And I don't really want to do either. What I would rather do is I would rather you be able to give 30 minutes to an hour of your time. Let us come and do a proper needs analysis and an inspection. And that way we give you an exact, down to the penny price, instead of a guess that I have to explain away later if it ends up being more. Or I may guess high, and then you rule yourself out, and I may say, oh, that's going to be $6,000, but it's really just $4,000. Well, sometimes that's the difference between someone choosing to make a purchase and not.
It's it's so easy to just always ask that, but I always forget. It's such a loaded question.
No, it really, it really is. And I understand from a consumer standpoint. It's not really like there's the Kelly Blue Book of motorized shades out there. If I'm looking for a brand new Toyota Camry, I can look at model, package, series, and I can look at dealers within a 200-mile radius, and I can pretty well drill that down within, maybe a 5, even a 10% range. Unfortunately, you just can't do that with this product. And then there's the other element. Who are you getting it from? So let's just say some of these other companies out in the industry, and there's some good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking bad about our competitors. I'm proud they have a solid, sustainable business. Good for them. But, and there's always a but, right? Even if, they had the exact same product that Shade Doctor offers, I don't, we have 40 installation teams scattered across the country, and they don't have our teams. They're not trained to install the way we do, architecturally minded, to overcome the obstacles that we can overcome. I always think when I'm thinking about that subject, I'm an 80s kid, man, grew up, followed Michael Jordan, through the 80s, the 90s, the retirement, then he came back, and then the other, everything full circle, right? Mm-hmm. So when the movie Air came out, I went to see it. I thought it was going to be cool, and it was. It was a very entertaining movie, mostly historical. I'm sure there were some inaccuracies, but one thing that his mother said in that movie that I think relates to this. And it was about that whole movie was about Nike and their recruiting pitch to get Jordan and competing against Adidas and Converse, and long story there. But anyway, his mother made a statement in that movie, and she said, "A shoe is just a shoe until my son puts it on." So even if we had the same product, or even if our competitors had the same product as us, it doesn't matter. It's not installed by us, so it's not the same finished product.
It's not a shade doctor. That's definitely got to be a slogan.
Absolutely right.
Do you guys spend a lot of time trying to brand? Because I would love to dive into also your paid ads, or not necessarily the metrics, but I did see it was a little bit different. Do you guys have an agency on that, or is that like you guys running that internally?
We have a couple of partner companies that are mostly secondary. Pretty much what we do now, we do in house.
Okay.
We started out doing everything in house. We didn't have a single partner company, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and it got to be a little overwhelming. I couldn't keep up with doing it all myself. Then we brought in partner companies back in the old days, like 22, 23. I came in early 23, but late 21, 22, and first part of 23. The owner named Jeff Malatak. None of us would be involved with this company without Jeff. He's a visionary. He's a sales guru. He's a genius. He's blessed my life. I'm so thankful for him. Back in the old days, he ran all the content. He leveraged the ads in digital media, and that was when it was when really that level of marketing with Facebook and Instagram and things. Not that it was new, but that's such an evolving world. It was a lot simpler then. Oh, yeah. It's amazing how you get all of this influx of AI and all these other tools, and it really doesn't make it any easier, unfortunately. But we used to do it all in-house. So I took it over from him shortly after I came in 2023. Through 2023 and most of 2024, I did it pretty well 100%. Then we brought in a partner company that basically just took our content and monetized it in certain places with budgets that I established and set. And that worked reasonably well, not without its challenges and struggles. We never had quick enough pivots and things like that. So here this year, we've pretty well taken it back over in-house, and we have myself and two other internal team members that manage it, top to bottom.
Is there any sort of, because you guys are not some small mom and pop shop for sure. So I'm just curious on what helped you guys really get that scale through paid ads? Because I know some people struggle with it. Some people are thriving with it. What do you think helped you guys out?
Well, there a couple of things. And again, some of it doesn't really even have anything to do with us, but a couple of things. I mean, it's pretty appealing and attractive to be offering a product that people want to buy. Okay, I don't have to come in like our friends in the solar industry and create some narrative about how you're going to feed power back into the grid and do trigonometry to show them that might be possible someday or whatever. We don't have to do that. So number one, it helps to have something that people are interested in, and people love to spend time outside, but allergies are terrible. Sun sensitivity, skin cancer, all types of things like that. So it helps to have a product that people want to buy, but it also helps to have unique content that thinks outside the box a little bit, and we try and follow various trends and get on the front end of those trends. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, it's a different trend. So we try and stay current. One thing in that realm is you have what's called content fatigue. You don't need to continue just to recycle the same old thing. So that's a big challenge. And then you have to commit to spend the money. Some folks, what they do from the marketing standpoint is they will have their demographics so broad, but then their money so little in terms of the budget they put behind it. So it's kind of like you pour a 5-gallon bucket of water out on a high school gym floor. Okay, well, a millimeter deep, but it spreads 60 or 70 or 80 feet, but that doesn't do anything for you. Okay, so sometimes it's a combination of how they're targeting, the demographics they're targeting, but it's also a combination of their spend. You just really have to commit to spend. And sometimes that's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge for a small business.
For sure. I'm sure well, I never want to make it sound super easy because I know home service businesses are very hard to run.
Well, yeah, but there's always a distinction between simple and easy. Okay, it's actually simple, but like a lot of things that are very, very simple, just meaning a series of simple components put into a sum, it's simple, but it's not easy. I mean, anytime, you have multiple personalities, skill sets, team members that make the collective, obviously it gets complicated. I mean, it gets very complicated. So it is not at all easy, even though it can be relatively simple.
Now I'm also curious because I know you mentioned that you guys do preset appointments. Do
We
you
do.
guys also run your own call center?
We do. We have a, they're mostly a remote team, but we have in-house team, no outsourced, they're all Shade Doctor people. Have a series, 5 or 6 people daily, nearly 18 hours a day that are monitoring hundreds and hundreds of digital conversations in various media outlets, just daily.
You guys do a lot of conversations. I've seen this kind of be a trend. Is that like how has that been working better for you guys? Has the conversation been a lot easier for you guys to book somebody in and get them?
Yeah, it really is. Now, the problem is Meta will not stop monkeying with their platform and their algorithms, and of course that affects Facebook, Instagram, and then don't even get me started on TikTok and some of the others. But if they would leave things alone, it would make it much easier. But ultimately, what we do is, our content's out there. People can see it, they can click on it, and they'll get a little nudge, that says something to the effect of, are you interested in motorized shades, or, would you like to, make your patio perfect, or something like that. And, if we extrapolate that over tens, 8 people say, yes, tell me more, and 2 people say, go pound sand. What happens periodically, unfortunately, is we have 4 or 5 day periods where that's flipped upside down. Something Meta is moved a button around, or they've done something and that they didn't ask you to do. Obviously, why would they ask us? We're small fries. But where 8 people tell you to go away and 2 people tell you, yeah, I can see you Tuesday at 3 p.m. So that is changing so fast because all of these companies are taking advantage of what AI could do. Like, I'll give you a great example. It used to be with many of these, in your setting up your content and where you monetize your content, you would really, really go in and filter and deep dive, drill down on your demographic. In the old days, I could go in and I could say, hey, I want to find every 32 to 65-year-old that makes over $100,000 in this zip code, that drives a blue car, that just got tires last week. Okay, a little overemphasis
Right.
there. You used to be able to drill down like that. You can still do some of that, but ultimately they're pushing the AI element so hard, they're almost throttling your efforts when you try and do it the old way, because what they want you to do is they want to build they basically want their AI bot to take your context or your content, your copy, and extrapolate your audience out of the copy. Okay, and not that we're on the front end of that, but I think we're a little more on the front end of that really becoming mainstream, and it just it's not always as reliable. Okay.
100% agree. And I've actually heard that you could curb that with data brokers. Like there's data brokers out there. I spoke to one for the first time today, and he showed me this long sheet of like 80,000 contacts in the last 10 days that looked up window replacement. And it's like, I've heard that that may be the way you could actually get around the whole, because I've heard it used to be good. Cost used to be cheap.
Oh,
You could target
used to be
anybody.
fantastic. I mean, effectively, we basically from 40 months ago, we have to spend 3 times today what we did 40 months ago to get the same thing we got then. It's not
And
fun.
it's not going down.
No, it's
Same
not.
thing with search. Do you guys do much search at all?
We do quite a bit. We do quite a bit. The digital, the social digital space is a very large part of what we do, but we're heavy in paid ads, SEO, and various multiple platforms, not just Google. So I mean, you have to diversify. You can't do just any one thing. I worked for a company, a number of years ago that they thought the strategy to win business all across the country was the same in every single market, just rinse, wash, and repeat. And that was effectively, let's launch a bunch of television ads that come on after Jeopardy to encourage you to buy a window. That may work in some places, right? I mean, that may work just fine in somewhere where you have a retired clientele that's sitting around with their TV dinner and in their recliner watching Jeopardy, but it doesn't work everywhere. So what we try and do is we try and take really a market by market, region by region approach. We may have the same budget principles, but the allocation of what we do is not exactly the same in every market.
Okay.
You take super tech heavy areas, Houston, Alabama, or very cultured, progressive areas like Austin, Texas. You don't advertise in those areas the same way. Like I can't put the same content with the same message, the same ad in Austin that we would drop over in Lubbock. It's not the same. I mean, yes, it's Texas, but Texas is like 10 different countries. Okay, it's definitely not the same. And then one thing we've had to fight hard against is as we scaled, because we went from having one location in 2023 in Houston, Texas, to over 60 locations across the country. And I learned a lesson from a previous stop in my career not to build the whole company and just be Texas. I love Texas. I love the Houston area. I love Dallas. I love San Antonio. I love Corpus Christi. I love I love the state. But we can't treat Alabama and Tennessee and North Carolina and South Carolina like they're just a third or fourth cousin, right? I mean, we have to be authentic and unique in Florida, just like we would in Georgia or North Carolina or New York or California, for example. So a lot of companies, I think, can miss that mark. We haven't done it perfectly, but I think we've done it reasonably well.
How'd you guys get so many locations? Has it been a franchise, or have you guys just bootstrapped?
No. Franchise is kind of I don't want to say a dirty word in our world, but we are not a franchise. We run an organization that is, about 65-35. From 65% of what Shade Doctor is fully corporate controlled branch model. Not a 65% not as dealers or franchises, but they're branch models, just like you would go to an Academy Sports, right? You can go to Academy in Atlanta and you can come to Academy in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're going to find the same brands of shoes. You're going to find the same general layout, pretty much the same. So we do that at the branch model. But then what we have is we have certain other areas that do have some franchise similarities where we've partnered with individual business owners that some started out as customers, some just saw what we were doing and how we were scaling and thought, man, that's really cool. And so Jeff, the owner, had this idea for years, and we paired together late 23 and early 24 and implemented it. that ultimately what we did is, without being a franchise, because franchise, there's several benchmarks there that you have to hit, and we don't hit those, but we ultimately found a way to craft like a master distributorship with an individual owner and allow them to use our marks and images, provide for them our systems, our SOP, our selling process, everything, but let them be independent business owners. So while it has some similarities to a franchise, it doesn't meet all the requirements to be recognized in a regulated franchise. But when we step back from it, we look at it that it's Shade Doctor. Okay, I mean, in our view, whether it's an individually owned and controlled market, or whether it's a corporate controlled branch, it's still one Shade Doctor. We're still selling the same product. We're sharing the same message that there's a better way to utilize motorized shading solutions. There's a better way to install it, and there's a better product that we can give the end user instead of the product that's been around on the industry for 30 or 40 years, that when the first 20-mile-an-hour wind comes through and you leave those shades down, you come home to a big Jenga pile laying in your patio. That's not what happens with the Shade Doctor product. And so we've been very, very fortunate to have some great people, in our organization, from Memphis, Tennessee to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee, all across the Gulf Coast in Louisiana. I mean, we're very, very fortunate and blessed to have some great partners.
That's great to hear. And I know we kind of got to wrap it up here in a minute, but I was just curious, what's wrong with the franchise model?
Nothing's wrong with it. It's bandwidth, it's regulation and processing and lots of different things like that. And then there's a lot of expense associated with it as well, because you have various regulations and registrations with state and federal and individual business owners. They are either a sole proprietor or a limited liability company that effectively just have a licensing agreement with us, and we act as a consulting arm for them. So it's a similar, it has some similarities, but it has some major core differences. Where we are right now today, it's far easier and simpler for everyone involved to not be franchised.
I'm sure it is. And I remember recently speaking with a fencing company franchise who basically had to be 2 times what the market was just because they were a franchise.
And really that's the primary reason, because while there's some benefits to a franchise, but for the person that buys the franchise, what typically happens is, hey, you pay your money, you get a kit in a box, and you get a pat on the back and say, hey, go have fun, just send me your money every month. Send me your the percentage or whatever that relationship is, and there's not a lot of really ongoing support. There's a lot of ongoing regulation and management, but not a lot of ongoing support. So we didn't want to do that. I mean, ultimately what we wanted to do is we wanted to create an environment where we treated our dealer markets just like they were corporate markets. Everything runs through the same call center. Everybody uses the same system. We engage with the customers the same way. But I'm not interested in individual markets owners' P&L. Now, we can look at it, and if you're missing the mark, and say, hey, this is why, these are the problems you're having. You're overpaying here, you're underperforming there. So we act like a consulting arm. But ultimately for us, being a factory direct provider of these solutions, it's all about putting a quality product in the marketplace that's reliable and even more than reliable, survivable. Okay, and because you're putting a mesh product, which it's not motorized bug screen. That's what a lot of folks think. I mean, this is a textiline-based solar shade material. It's a heavy mesh, more like canvas on a tent than it is a screen. Okay, but you're still putting that in a huge opening. We can build up to a 30-foot wide and 20-foot tall opening. But well, you look in a lot of those openings, the whole backside of that home, it's sliding glass doors, it's glass, it's a lot. Well, in a wind event, what happens? Okay. Well, if that glass is breached, you have, from the potential of wind getting in the home, roof coming off, water infiltration, mold, mediation, you have all of those problems. And so, we want to sell a product and offer a product that will be kind of the first line of defense when the weather doesn't cooperate and do what we want it to do. And oh, by the way, it will now keep away the bugs, the dust, the pollen, block the sun, give you privacy from the nosy neighbor, and you can open your back door and have a fan going, and you can sit out in the middle of February in flip-flops and a short, or the 1st of February in flip-flops and shorts and watch the Super Bowl when it's 40 degrees outside and feel like you're sitting in your living room. So this product has really a lot more to offer than people understand at the most elementary level.
You guys you can really tell you really believe in this.
Well, I do. I love outdoor living and the patio room space. I just love it.
Well, where could someone find Shade Doctor? Where could someone find you, Thomas?
Hey, look, you can see me in a lot of our content. I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Find me on LinkedIn. But if you want to find Shade Doctor, it's not about me. Don't find me. Find Shade Doctor, and that is www.shadedocs.com. You can call 1-800-965-2577. Nearly anywhere in the country. If we're not there yet, if we're not there today, we may be there tomorrow.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Well, I really appreciate everyone coming by. I hope this brought you guys a lot of value, and stick around for the next one.